finally, I was like, did she tell you to break up with me or something? And then he goes,
no.
And then he goes, kind of, and which was crazy because.
Welcome to Guys We.
Greetings, human beings. How are you doing? What a world we find ourselves in. Welcome to another arousing episode of Guys We.
It's the Anti-Slut Shaming Podcast. I'm Corinne Fisher.
I'm Krystyna Hutchinson.
Welcome to the show. If you are in New York City and you are a registered Democrat, a reminder that those Democratic primaries are happening June 24th. And if you're going to participate in early voting, you can vote as early as June 14th. I haven't talked about the race in a while. I am still working on it in different ways. I am endorsing and collaborating with Dream, Don't Rank Evil Andrew for mayor. It's it's basically telling people to rank 5 candidates in the ranked choice voting that fills out the entire form, none of which should be Andrew Cuomo. And I am officially registered, and it's crazy that you have to officially register, but I am officially on the books registered as a write-in candidate. So,
and you're on the voting guide.
I'm on the CFB voting guide.
Which is wild.
Although there was, so if anyone has a copy, I did not receive a copy. I really desperately need one because it's really cool and I'm going to frame it. It's like, that's the only memento I have to show. But they sent out 3.5 million copies with wrong information. My name's on it. Another woman who they knocked off the ballot, Deirdre Levy, is on it.
Cool.
Eric Adams is listed twice. He's not even running in the Democratic primary.
Sweet. Sweet.
So there was a whole push for the head of the campaign finance board to step down because of that huge error.
It's a really big error.
Well,
you don't look at the thing before you send it to print.
I mean,
you got to look at it.
Yeah. So if anyone has that, please DM me. I'm desperately searching for a copy. Everyone I know who's a registered Democrat, I have reached out to, because I got from the Board of Elections, my voter's guide, but they just use little animals to represent the candidates. They don't actually have candidate by name information on there. Okay. The CFB has a much more all-encompassing guide. But anyway, I am officially registered as a write-in candidate, so there'll be a blank bubble at the end of your sheet. You can fill in the bubble and then just write Corinne Fisher. You have to spell it right.
Corinne.
And Fisher, and that's all we're doing, Fisher, for it to count.
Corinne, the emphasis on the in, so it's NNE.
Yeah, and again, I would rank, rank whoever you want, but it's a form of protest. So, and I don't feel uncomfortable because it's a 5 thing. And if we were only voting for one person, I wouldn't say vote for me. I would say vote strategically or for who is actually able to be elected. I mean, I am able to be elected, but you're not going to win via write-in. But it's totally fine to do this. In the general election, I would advise not to write me in.
It's not ranked choice for general.
No, it's not. But you can still write in though.
3 candidates.
And I would definitely not encourage you to write me in for the general. But for the primaries, hell yeah.
Let's do it.
I absolutely would recommend that as one of your 5 choices and fill out 5 and And
this is a great time if you're a New Yorker to go to your local Board of Elections or go to the Board of Elections website and get your mail in if you want to do a vote by mail. Mm-hmm. Super easy. Every election I've ever voted in New York City, I almost always do it vote by mail, just because I don't know if I'm going to be available. It's just you got less stuff to do. You're busy.
Yeah, and then also, no matter where you are, I hope that watching Krystyna and I go through this experience has encouraged you to be more interested and knowledgeable about your own municipal politics.
Yeah, seeing a lot of young people running for Congress and for their local officials.
Absolutely. So, support, run for something yourself, any of that, just, keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening. Because again, we wonder how we end up with corruption in the White House. Well, it doesn't start in the White House. It starts on the ground floor, which is municipal politics. And then by the time we ultimately usually notice it, it's too late and too big and it's not able to be in our hands anymore. But on a municipal level, politicians are super accessible. So.
Yeah. They don't necessarily
not many people are paying attention, and they love that.
They do love that.
Yeah.
That's how they wield their power.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of politicians, one thing I learned from this process through you is that like they don't like outsiders.
No.
Even at the municipal level. Granted, we are talking about like the most popular city in the world, but
yeah,
the municipal level does not like newbies, and that's pretty dumb.
Because things have been just going on with little to no interruption for so long.
Yeah.
So by kind of starting to meddle, it's making their job much more difficult than it needs to be.
Good.
Which is great because then you're asking more of them, and the quality of the politicians and the government you get will be higher.
Yeah, I certainly hope more young people run because my God. I'm still watching the news, and it's not great.
And again, when we say young for politics, I'm talking like 50 and under.
Yeah.
That's young for politics.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Ladies, are you 45? Are you 45 and want to feel young as hell? Run for your local government.
And who needs Botox when you have municipal politics?
Yeah. Write us an email, guys. Sorry about last night's show at gmail.com. That is where you send it to us. Today's subject line, my friend's boyfriend took his life and blamed her.
Fun.
Cute. Love that. Hi, Corinne and Krystyna, longtime fucker. I've always wanted to write in. I wish I was coming to you with something more lighthearted, but I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. Trigger warning of suicide and abuse. I have a friend, we'll call her Jane, who dated an abusive man for 2 to 3 years. They met on an app and moved in together fairly quickly. My other friends and I really tried to get to know him and hang out with the both of them, but he always seemed to get really drunk, always carried around a flask of tequila.
Jesus.
Ugh. Drifted off into their room to be alone or would leave the party. We usually brush it off, but as they dated longer, we caught on to the way he treated her. Jane is one of the sweetest, kind-hearted people I've ever met. She's always trying new hobbies, hosting dinners for friends, and overall such a bright light in the room. However, this guy, we'll call him Jack, always put her down. He would tell her to shut up or call her stupid, and she would occasionally have pretty big bruises, which she brushed off as being from sex. Over time, we started to watch her light dim, and she pulled away from us when we tried to talk to her about what was happening. Oh, Jack had a hold on her. It was sad to witness as a friend, but I stuck by her as an outlet if she were to ever want to talk. She eventually told me that he would push her or hit her when she fought back. Finally, in 2023, they, in quotes, broke up and moved out from living with each other. I put it in quotations because they were definitely still seeing each other, but at least they weren't living under the same roof. She would tell us that she was seeing other people, but one of my friends had her location and would, why do people be sharing their locations?
It's very weird, I know.
That's very strange.
I know.
I'm like, what am I missing about that? And would see that she was at his place often. We left it alone until May when Jack took his own life. Jane hadn't heard from him in a few days and called the cops to have them do a wellness check. It was traumatic for her, and she completely changed as a person after this. I went to his services and provided any support she needed during that time. But there has always been this little voice in me that has so much anger towards him. Yeah, girl, me too. He treated her horribly and even told her that he would do this if she didn't take him back, making her live with this guilt. I guess my question to you is, now, almost 3 years later, she still talks about him every single time I talk to her. She puts him on this pedestal as the greatest love of her life. Oh, boy. Shit. And best man to her. Okay, she's still in the delusion. Because it's comforting to her, I'm sure. Even though many of us know the truth. Am I awful for feeling angry and not wanting to support this anymore? I've hinted to her that I didn't agree with the way he treated her. I want my friend back. I know that she wants to go back to the way she was before this, but he lingers in every conversation. It's a tough situation and I don't expect a clear answer, but I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on how I can support her in moving on with her life. Appreciate you both for giving us this platform to share these stories. Best A.
Well, I mean, obviously, number one is like, has she seen a therapist about this? Because no matter what the circumstances are, this is something where she needs help. I mean, specifically, I might even recommend a grief counselor. I have found that a lot of times a therapist isn't enough. Like, unless you just by chance have a therapist who they themselves have experienced a lot of grief, like they're not going to be excellent in helping you navigate that, but there are specifically people who are by trade grief counselors. I wish I had known about that earlier because I would have gone to a grief counselor, but I know through a friend who lost her mother, So I would specifically recommend seeing a grief counselor, because this is like a complex grief, similar to when, people's parents die who they had a really, toxic relationship with, but they're still really sad and you're kind of confused because you're like, well, you hated that bitch, but you
wanted her dead and now she is and now you're sad about it.
Right. So, it's kind of like this. And but also it seems like they broke up, but it doesn't seem like there's any part of this story where she ever kind of acknowledged that this was a negative situation. It doesn't seem like that in the story you're telling me. So that's going to be very hard to deal with, especially posthumously, because we societally have a tradition, let's say, of making the dead seem much more iconic than they were during life.
Oh, we do. We
and I really hate that.
I do too.
If you were an asshole when you were living, I'm going to call you an asshole after you die, and I don't care.
Yeah. Just because you're dead doesn't mean you weren't a prick when you were alive. Yeah. And this guy certainly was. I think that I'm not nervous for her, but I'm like, oh girl, you need to grieve. You need to first grieve the fact that you were with somebody who abused you. And I think one of the toughest parts of that is, why did I as the person abuse? I've never been abused like this in a romantic sense, just by my mother. But I think that you have to deal with the fact that you stayed in a thing that was abusive to you. And I think you have to grieve, how the fuck could I have done that? And there's so many reasons, and they're all legitimate, and they all make sense. But I think that she has to kind of come to terms with the fact that, come to terms with the truth of what this guy did to her. I was watching a fucking docu-series last night on Hulu. I think it was on Hulu, about these women that were conned by. I thought it was going to be the Tindler Swindler kind of thing, and it was. But my God, some guy essentially took a gay makeup artist in Los Angeles who's a very handsome man in his 50s. He took, gay guys take a lot of photos of themselves. So he took and I knew that. I'm like,
happy Pride.
Yeah, good for you guys. And so he just took all the photos off this guy's Instagram and catfished these women, one on Words with Friends, one on a dating app, and another on Instagram. But he ended up catfishing thousands of women into giving him $10,000, $20,000. None of these women met this man who stole this gay guy's identity by using his pictures. They fell so hardcore in love with him. And I watched the text messages being pulled up on the screen. I'm like, you didn't even fucking know him. What? But woman after woman was interviewed in this docuseries, and they all felt the same thing. And the guy didn't even give him that much. He just said, I think you're beautiful and I love you. Obviously repeatedly throughout the day over the course of 2 years.
We love breadcrumbs.
If that's all it took, these women were legitimately in love with a man they've never met, which I cannot understand. But you know what? If it can happen to her, then it can happen to me, and it can happen to you, and it can happen to you. So if it
happens all the time. Just watch 90 Day Fiancé.
It's fucking wild. So imagine the manipulation that can occur on such a gigantic level when you're in person when your friend Jane was in person with this piece of shit dead guy Jack.
Well, also this is a situation where I'm guessing there were very high highs and very low lows, which is
intoxicating.
Yeah.
And when you invest a couple years into it, you don't want to believe that that 1 year, that now 2 years, that now 3 years were for nothing. Yeah. And so you won't allow yourself to believe that what is happening here isn't love, because you're like, well, why do I feel this good? I mean, there's many reasons why she felt this good, because he was fucking being super manipulative and saying what she wanted to hear. And the breadcrumbing thing is real, man. It's so real. So she needs a trauma counselor that's very skilled in, grief, but also this guy seems like a narcissist or something, sociopath, who knows?
And when you're also dealing with a very rare situation in which a guy threatens to kill himself if they break up, and then actually does that, that's 0.0001% of the person who does it.
Well,
but it's a form of abuse even after
Gabby Petito.
She was dead, but Gabby Petito was dead before he was dead.
He was, but the thing I found interesting about that case is Brian killed himself.
Yeah,
but he in his suicide letter he still lied.
Oh, what did he? I forgot about the case.
He was like, oh, I didn't. He basically said he didn't kill her. I would never kill her, but he very clearly killed her.
Yeah, I mean, and he killed himself, so he didn't have to deal with the legal repercussions. Yeah. But it's like, and
he still stuck to his lie. So I'm like,
wanted to control the narrative.
If the writer of this email said that the guy blamed her, did he blame her in a suicide note? I don't think so.
Who knows if he even wrote one?
I don't know. I broke up. Yeah. So I'm curious, like, obviously he said before they broke up, if you leave me, I'll kill myself. So I'm assuming that's where you got that from. I don't know if he actually spelled it out in a suicide letter, but even he could have done that. But people that do that are still manipulative to the grave. I mean, they're just like every second that they're alive in this human body, they will be trying to twist your reality into something that it's not.
And to answer your question, I think at a certain point, it's fine to set a boundary with her to say, I love you so much. I love being your friend. I want to be here for you, but I cannot sit here and listen to you talk positively about a man that we both know was abusing you. Something really short like that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think setting a boundary sometimes is good because I think sometimes you get, just the same way as we get addicted to like talking about a breakup or something, like you can get addicted to talking about this kind of a situation. And I don't think there's a problem with saying that. And maybe like it'll like wake her up a little bit. Ultimately, it's her own journey. So there's not a ton of control you have over that. And like, fair warning, she could react very negatively to you setting that boundary. I still think it needs to be set though.
I know. I think hiding the truth from her, continuing to hide the truth from her, you're not actively hiding it, but like you have to address it. I think that like a lot of times as self-aware as we try to be, we can not see the truth, whether we're subconsciously hiding it from ourselves or not. And I think that, the most loving thing to do here is tell her the truth. 'Cause she's going to see it eventually. That's why, and a lot of people, like, that's how these situations happen. I mean, you can't blame any one person for it because there's so many layers. But like when someone dates someone who sucks, and when I say sucks, I don't just mean like has a bad attitude. I mean, is like abusive and manipulative and narcissistic and sociopath, but whatever it is, all these isms. Like, when is it the friend's responsibility to say the truth? It's scary to say the truth to somebody because you don't know what the reaction is going to be. But I feel like as a society, we like tiptoe around the truth way too much. Mm-hmm. And I wish we didn't. Like, just because you're telling somebody the truth doesn't mean it's not loving.
It's also very hard to hear that once you're stuck in that mental cycle of like that feedback loop of like the low, high, low, high, low, high. And it's, to unwork that is, I was stuck in that with one relationship over COVID, and that was extremely difficult to break out of once it was over.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also, it's like it's perhaps right now Jane's in like this coping mechanism. It might be easier for her to like hold on to the memory of having lost a good boyfriend than a bad boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because
that's a double whammy,
losing a good boyfriend is a little bit of a cleaner break. It's not as complex. It's something that's a little bit more relatable. We can show a little bit more empathy towards that.
Yeah.
And so it's easier. So like even in like, your brain's survival mechanisms, I feel like they just try to make things neater and cleaner, which is why I do believe when people who of questionable ethics die, it's just easier for us to have this blanket understanding, in quotes, of as a society that we don't talk ill about the dead.
Yeah, we should start talking ill about the dead.
I love talking ill about the dead.
Let's do that. New podcast idea. And you can hear us other places. Speaking of new podcast ideas, these aren't new podcasts, but these are other places that you can hear us talk.
I thought you were going to do something about YouTube, and I was like, yeah. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to the Guys We Fucked YouTube. We're on YouTube, full episodes every week. Yes, they do come out mostly in 2 parts. We'll do the, on Friday morning, you'll get the guest interview, and then on Saturday morning, you'll get the intro. That's just the way we were advised to do it by Luminary. I don't know.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. It did actually help the the metrics and stuff. So I don't know what to tell everybody.
YouTube.com.
If that makes you unhappy. Everything makes people unhappy. So whatever. And then I still live stream Without a Country every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can join me. You can call into the show live. I am actually in the studio at that time. And then if you have any topics that you want to talk to me about about politically, you can email those to withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. Do not send anything else there. If it's not related to the show, I will not respond. It's only for Without a Country stuff there. And I will respond to almost everything for Without a Country. And specifically right now, I'm, kind of talking to the listeners about municipal politics, and I'm very interested in what's happening in your city as far as municipal politics go, because that's not information that's easily accessible when I'm living in New York City. That's not going to come up in my news, but I want you to start looking into that and find me some stories about what's going on in your city and the scandals and who's running and the battles. And that's something I'm going to be starting to talk about a lot on the show, so that people just get more interested in general on about that subject matter.
Yeah, and then I have my Patreon where a couple times a month I do group therapy where we just talk over Zoom for about an hour about abusive relationships. Is certainly a topic that comes up a lot, romantic and parental and work. And like, how do you make a safety plan? I was talking this week about the other week I was talking about, doing a project, a writing project, a performance project about when somebody else is so deeply tied to your story, but when their biggest fear, that other person's, is the truth. Like, how do you go about that little dance?
Sure.
We just philosophize and talk about how to deal with life. And once a month, we do what I call woo-woo theme Zoom, where we do like a group meditation and we do psychic exercises, and they're actually very interesting. And a lot of people are much more perceptive, and they're surprising themselves with it. So that's always exciting to watch unfold. So that is patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson, where you can go be a member, listen to the audio from all of our conversations, or participate in one.
Eric.
Oh, I'll be in, I was just making sure that I timed it. I'll be in Minnesota this weekend. It is the 5th through the 8th of June. I'll be in Minneapolis, the House of Comedy at, the Mall of America. So yeah, come see one of those shows. And then I'll be in Edmonton the 3rd through the 6th of July. And that will be at the comic strip. So please come to one of those. It'll be very fun.
Amazing. Fantastic. And then make sure you're following us all on social media. I'm at Philanthropy Al.
I'm at Krystyna Hutch.
At Eric Freddy.
And we're at Guys We Fucked without the U in fucked on everything. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Corinne helped me pull off a pretty big surprise.
That was good. I was very nervous.
I was nervous too. You're nervous, and I could tell you were nervous, and that was making me a little more nervous. And then other people that were coming to the party were nervous. I'm like, oh fuck! But
because when you get so close,
I know
we've been planning this for months. I mean, you've been planning it. We've been planning the surprise element for months, and I'm like, we made it so close. I was so proud of you for keeping the secret this long. I know it was very difficult for you.
It actually wasn't as difficult because I was doing it out of love. Because I also too, like, if I'm attending a surprise party, I want to see the person be as surprised as you can get them. Yeah, I want that host to get a real mad surprise.
Yeah.
So I was at the Guys Who Fuck studio every day last week, putting together these photo boards because I was in contact with my partner's family members in Ireland trying to get all these photos. And it was really cool to just, this whole thing was done out of love. I love when it's someone's birthday, as you know. I just love when it's someone's birthday. Even if I don't know you, I love when it's your birthday. I just want you to feel the best. And
happy birthday to everyone who's celebrating
if your birthday's
out there today.
Motherfucker, happy birthday. But also too, it's a reminder, like my birthday every year, no matter how I'm doing mentally, career-wise, love-wise, no matter the circumstances of my life, when it is my birthday, February 19th, I wake up and I go the whole entire day until I go to sleep. I feel like a queen. I feel great, even if I don't do it. And my birthday's in February. It's in the worst month to have a birthday. It's the absolute worst month. It's the darkest days, the shortest days. It's fucking freezing out, and it doesn't matter. And a lot of times, like I used to have like pretty sick parties, but now I don't really do much. And even still, I feel like $1 million on my birthday. And it's the challenge for me every year is to live every day like it's your fucking birthday. Not like it's your last day on earth, because if it was my last day, I'd be trying drugs I've never done.
Yeah, like I have so much to do.
Don't tell me to live like it's my last day, because I would spend the remaining dollars in my savings account on like a Ferrari. So that's not how I want to live. But I do want to live every day like it's my birthday. So yeah. So I love when it's people's birthdays and when it's your boyfriend's birthday and it's a big birthday. It was a big year. That was very exciting. So the whole planning process took so much time and so much effort, but it was all done out of love. And it was the same thing with like working on your mayoral campaign. It was all done out of love because I like truly believe in you.
Thank you.
When so that also reinstated this thing of like, when you're doing something out of love, you can't go wrong and you will do a good job. You just will. Like it's kind of like that's the key to life. Too many people have jobs that they hate, and I understand like you need to make money, feed your kids. So but then like really see if you could try to love the job you have because it makes it more enjoyable. So yeah, I was planning a lot. Obviously I told him about this. There was a political benefits gala. I told him months ago, save this date. I know it's the day before your birthday, so I'll make sure you put it in your calendar. He was so gung ho. I ended up getting an audition for a Lena Dunham movie that I had to film on Monday. I submitted this past Tuesday or last week. And so I told him the day of the party, I was so fucking nervous because as you said, the closer it gets, the more I'm like, oh fuck.
Because you're like, you really don't want to fuck it up really now. We're 4 hours away.
I know, so much effort. And all these people are coming in, they're flying in, they're driving in. So I really wanted it to be good. And so I said, I'm like, what am I going to tell him? Because I need to go down to the venue with my friend Ani, our friend Ani, who
decorate,
helped.
Yeah,
she's like a producer and a set designer. She's an incredible she just does everything. She wears a lot of hats. And so I hired her. I'm so happy I did to help me set up the space. And so I went down there to help because and we had like a bunch of people helping us. And so I was there for like 3 hours and I'm like, what am I going to, I was racking my brain over what am I going to tell him that I'm doing for these 3 hours. And Kevin had conveniently got a very severe rash and I had to take him to the vet the day before. So I'm like, maybe should I say Kevin?
Hell yeah, Kevin.
But then I know. I'm like, thanks, Kev. But then I have to take Kevin. I can't take Kevin. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just say I got a call back. Mm-hmm. And I told him I got a call back. And I'm like, he's like, that's amazing. I'm like, oh, should I have said something else? I feel bad. He was so happy. And then while we were there, on my way back to the apartment, I'm like, callback went great. I made the casting director laugh. Like I was just zhuzhing it up. I was really zhuzhing it up. But he was getting excited. I'm like, oh man. But in that moment, I like didn't care because I'm like, oh, he's gonna be so surprised. And then we go so far as to I order a very fancy, like the fanciest Uber you can buy, the black SUV. Picked Colin and I up. We went to your apartment to pick you and your boyfriend up. You both looked dashing. And Corinne was like, Corinne came up with this thing of like, we're gonna say at the event the metal detectors are backed up, so our campaign manager's at the beer. It was so good.
I thought about this all day.
It was so good. So good
because also this political event that was good that we set up to be whether or not I was on the ballot.
Yes,
thank God. Ahead of time. Because even when you told me about that a couple months ago, I was like, well, what if I don't make the ballot?
Yeah, I'm like, it doesn't matter.
And like AOC was gonna be there.
Andrew Cuomo was the first time was going to do an event. So in the Uber, we're talking about like, should we take a photo with Andrew Cuomo and you can record him and he doesn't have to know.
Well, the thing was, I really had convinced myself that this was a real political event that I was genuinely getting excited about. So I was method acting at that point.
I was also method acting.
And I also knew that we were both nervous, and I was like, Colin's going to be able to sense that we're nervous, but it makes sense that we're nervous if we are nervous about this big political event.
Yes.
You know, and I had told my boyfriend everything that we were going to say in advance because I knew that he would be laughing at us.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, he's kind of quiet anyway. So he didn't really say anything, which was on brand for who he is. And he was like looking out the window and he was like, I was laughing. And then he was like, so I just started looking out the window and he was like, and you guys started talking so much louder because you were excited.
The drive from your apartment to the venue, I was gonna shit my pants.
Well, it was also so quick, and then I really was trying to keep engaging in the conversation.
Yeah.
But then also I had to be on text because I was supposed to be.
You were coordinating.
I was giving Ani alerts.
Yeah.
And then the drive to downtown was so much faster.
It was way quick.
And then I was like,
but even the Uber driver was like, oh, what? Because I was like, okay, I got to pick a hotel that this event's gonna be at, the Wall Street Hotel. And then the metal detectors are going to be backed up, and her campaign manager is going to tell us to go to a bar next door to the actual bar. Yeah. Shout out to Ulysses on Pearl Street in the financial district of New York City. Fantastic bar. And so I was like, okay, we're going to go to Harry's because Colin was just playing at Ulysses the night before, and I feel like that's going to fuck us up.
Yeah, to go to Ulysses would be too suspicious because Colin goes to Ulysses.
Exactly. So, but the Uber driver was helping us out without even knowing it because he's like, oh, wait, the Wall Street Hotel, that's really fancy. I don't think you were in the car yet. And he was like, oh, what time's the event over? And I'm like, it's over at 11. He goes, cool, I'm going to like circle around there afterwards. I'm like, yeah, man, do it. I'm like, oh, no, we're lying, but I can't tell you that.
There was a lot of people down there, so hopefully he picked up a ride.
Hopefully. And then we went to this place, Harry's, and then Colin goes, why don't we just go to Ulysses? They have TVs and the Knicks game's on.
Yeah, because we wanted to watch the Knicks game. And he goes, and then he was like, Harry's didn't have TVs.
Right. And I'm like, I guess we could go to Ulysses, sure.
And then when he said that, I was like, Colin just gave us an assist to his own surprise party.
Which put him further into the Matrix.
Exactly, because then there was no idea he would expect anything because he's the one who suggested it. And I was like, this is great.
He was like, he blacked out for the first hour of that party because he goes, there's no event. Wait, you didn't have a callback? There's no event.
No, after the surprise, he turns to me, he goes, so wait, is there a political event? I said, no, Colin.
No, it's a birthday party.
I said, obviously not.
But it was so
in my head I was like, I hope he's not actually really excited to meet like AOC or anything, I mean, because
he was just watching the Knicks game in the car. He was like,
I was like, I don't want to like disappoint him. But
oh no, he was not disappointed. But we pulled it off. We fucking pulled it off. Woo. It was such a great surprise. And everybody in there was so like, when you put it together an event and it's out of love, it really shows. And the people there, his friends are just really lovely, very talented musicians. Like some of the most talented musicians I've ever witnessed. Touring with like fucking Sting and Adele and all, like every major act. And so it was really cool to like watch him play with his friends and stuff and just watch the person you love just feel so loved. And to give them that as a gift was really special. And the surprise part was just, I'll never forget that. That was a core memory.
I think it's so funny because then you're like, does the person who was surprised then question what a good liar their partner is?
Well, that was what I was going to bring up next.
Because I was like, did we do too good of a job where there's now mistrust in the relationship?
I actually think, yeah.
I started to sense it
because I was like,
because I could tell. Because also, like, and then I was talking to Colin privately, and then like we were talking about the audition, and it was a couple hours into the party, and at that point he hadn't even known that the callback was a lie too. And then I was like, "Fuck, should I?"
Yeah, no, I would have told. I was
because he was just like, I was just like telling him how we pieced it together, like a magician revealing their secrets.
But I overheard him talking to one of his friends on speaker the other night, and the guy was like, "Yo, I don't know, man. Your girl's way too good at lying to you." And I'm like, oh no. Is this putting a wedge?
Keep him on his toes.
Yeah. But
Happy birthday.
He was alarmed, but I'm like, first of all, I got a BFA in acting. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Give it to me. I'm a great actress. I just am.
Well,
sorry.
And he wanted something to be done. You sensed that he was disappointed. He wanted a surprise.
Yeah. And
he wanted a celebration.
He did. And I was kind of already leading him to believe that we were going to do some dumb shit in the park on the day of his birthday. And I could see the disappointment in his eyes. He says he wasn't disappointed when I was leading him there, but I could tell he was. Because it was a big birthday. And so, but he, and as a former people pleaser who, it's so interesting, your whole life when you just want everybody to feel good and you want everybody to feel loved. But for the first 3/4 of your life, that comes from a place of extreme anxiety and terror. But then the most recent quarter of your life, it's coming from a genuine place. It's not coming from a place of fear or from that is actually who I am. And it's just, and now I can do it for the right reasons. But it felt very good to express my love for somebody and to have that expression of love be so palpable to the people that love him. That was really nice. Like they really had a good time at the party. I had a cigar roller for the boys, and then I had a psychic for the girls. Shout out to Marla Edgar. She was a fantastic psychic. I was super excited to have her there because I wanted to do like Lawrence of Arabia lightly Lawrence of Arabia themed because that was his favorite movie. So I'm like, a palm reader, but she was just a full-on psychic. And so all the guys at the party, they're all artists. So I'm like, okay, even if they're closed off, you're curious. So many guys I ended up hiring her for 2 more hours. So I'm like, if you want to stay, there was like a giant line for her. All these guys were like, I don't want to go to a psychic. I'm like, why? You afraid of the truth? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, don't be a pussy, do it. And so I just used masculinity against them and pressured them. And a lot of them were like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. She told me some shit. I'm like, good. Hell yeah. That you gotta get an astrology app next week, boo-boo. I did my job.
So I was gonna tell you this on the solo episode, but I'll tell you it now because so my boyfriend went to the psychic, and he's like he's dated like witchy girls in the past, so he's like he's open but not like into it. He's like oh he'll kind of try whatever.
He's bi curious.
Yeah. So he like it was like the end of the night, and Krystyna came over, and she was like, "Why don't you get a psychic reading?" And I was like, "Yeah, get one." And so I waited in line with him, and then he ended up getting one. And he was the last person that she saw.
Oh shit!
So first of all, she starts it by going, "What time is it?" "Oh, I gotta go." And so the energy might not have been great. And I had 1 hour ago. I was like one of the first 5 people to have one. So mine
also the last 2 hours
good.
They were playing music on stage. It was super loud.
It was very
I could tell that was like throwing her off.
Yeah, it was very loud. She had to like fully like get in people's ears.
Yeah.
So whatever. He finally, he gets the reading, and then he comes over. I obviously gave him space, and I didn't even like look at him when he was getting the reading because I didn't want my energy to be on him. I wanted him to have his own experience with that. And then he comes over to me and he like doesn't say anything. And I'm just like, oh, so how was your reading? Like, what did she say?
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, what did yours say? And I was like, no. I was like, no. What did yours say? Because I was like, now you're hiding something. And then he was like, he like wouldn't tell me. And I was like, what did she say to you? I was like, are you okay? Did she tell you you're going to die? And then I finally, I was like, did she tell you to break up with me or something? And then he goes,
no.
And then he goes, kind of, and which was crazy because we were like, there's no way she didn't see us together in the line. And so he felt so bad. He's like, I didn't want to kill the vibe. He's like, because you were so excited because you're
not everybody got a great a couple people got readings that made no sense to them, but a couple people had crazy shit happen. So it's like hit or miss.
He was like everyone was coming off being like, life changing, positive. So she starts the reading off by saying to him, like, are you single? You look lonely. And then I was like, which like I could understand, like he kind of like does, like I could see.
He looks like a loner.
Yeah. Yes.
Not lonely.
He is a loner, which is what I like.
Right.
But
I actually think he's by far my favorite boyfriend you've ever had.
I'm kind of a loner too, so I'm like, this makes sense. Loners, stick together.
Yeah.
So that's and then I think he laughed because she was so wrong, and then I think that maybe irritated.
Oh no.
And then like, so she didn't say like break up with your girlfriend, but she did say, remember, like if you're feeling lonely in a relationship that you should, break up with the person. So then because my reading actually felt so aligned with other readings that I've had in a very specific way that I then was convinced for the rest of the weekend that he wanted to break up with me, and we talk about on this show so often, just didn't have the courage to do it. And like maybe was thinking like in theory like she's the type of girl that I should stay with, and like it's just not meshing, so like I should just like push these feelings to the side. So then I started getting and I was like deeply depressed over this.
Oh, Corinne.
And then because I was like, literally any other boyfriend could have dumped me and I wouldn't have cared. And then I was like, of course the one I like wants to dump me. And I was like, this is a nightmare. But then I was, so then I was like I was like, listen, I was like, if you want to break up with me, it's okay. I was like, just like, let's not drag this on any more than we need to. And he was like, Corinne. He was like, I'm not going anywhere. He was like, I don't want to break up with you.
Fuck yeah.
He was like, this is crazy.
Maybe she was talking about where he works.
He was like, this is getting crazy. Oh. He like banned me from psychics. He was like, this is so wrong.
Well,
he was like, this is why I don't go to psychics, because this goes off. And then we had to make a pact by the end of the weekend. And then it turned into a running joke where because I live in the East Village, there's a lot of psychics around. Anytime we packed by a psychic, he like made me he like made me promise him to not talk about psychics anymore in relationship to the thing, because then he started getting paranoid, and then he started getting paranoid that I was using it to break up with him. But I was trying to like put it on him. And then he started getting paranoid.
Oh, the webs we weave.
Like I was cheating on him or something.
No.
I was like, who has the energy? I said, who has the energy at 39 to cheat on someone? What are you even talking about?
A 39-year-old man would, but yeah.
I was like, I have no energy to do that.
Yeah.
Or interest. And it was.
That's so funny.
And I was like, and then because when I didn't know what was going on, I was like, I can't tell Krystyna. I was like, she's gonna be so upset.
It is what it is. I'm not afraid of the truth anymore.
That this psychic caused, us to break up. But then I was like,
that would upset me.
Well, and then I was like, well, I'm not upset either, because if he wanted to break up and the psychic was the person who needed to tell him to break up with me, then obviously he should. And then he was like, Corinne, no. He's like, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, good. Okay. And that's
It was just made me laugh so hard, and I felt so bad because I wanted her to give him like inspirational advice about his career or something. Like I was excited, and now he's never going to go a psychic again.
She had to have talked about other things with him, right?
No, just 5 minutes of how
she talked to me about like
must feel.
Oh my God. Okay, well, I'm going to chalk that up too. And like I said, some people got readings. My one friend got a reading that was so accurate. It was not life-changing in any way, but I know this person very well. And so she was like, okay, a home construction project is taking up a lot of space, and a black dog is taking up a lot of space in your head. Those are the two things. And that was exactly, he just got a new puppy, this little black dog, and he bought a house, and he's doing a deck, and he's trying to figure out, and like there was nothing profound exchange other than like, these are the things that are on your mind. So she's reading his energy. So like some readings were like accurate, but like, Mine wasn't a life-changing one or anything crazy, but she said, did I tell you what it was about? She said I was really good with kids, and basically she said there's a large child sex trafficking ring, which I already know those exist. You've opened my eyes to those. There's the nature of how vast human trafficking and child sex trafficking specifically, the darkest kind, is. And so she's like, I think we're going to be exposed to something very vast, and like you would be really good for those kids to like help them with that. I'm like, word. But I would be. I'd be fantastic about it. But I want to do other stuff. And so, she was talking to me about another project I'm working on. And she just said things that were accurate. But like, you're working on it with a little guy? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, But then Colin had a really good reading. And a couple people like had a pivotal reading, like a kind of a pivotal life change moment reading.
Yeah.
So it was hit or miss. But it was the very last one. I could tell the music they were playing was like, it was a lot for her, which it was a lot. It was very loud music.
Yeah.
So like maybe her aura was crowded.
Yeah.
It's probably hard to speed run psychic readings.
Also, that was like the 40th person, 50th person she's read. Everybody was doing it. So I'm like, that's also a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that. I don't want to get down on psychics because they are, and also too, even I, who's like obsessed with psychics, I take everything they say with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Except Laura Lynn Jackson, who read me because she got,
I more so do it by like, there have been certain specific things that I've been told by multiple woo-woo people.
That's very interesting.
Those are that's like the pieces that I hold to be true.
That's very, that would be of interest to me if you're getting the same thing every reading.
But
was she like, no one understands you and...
not no one, kind of, but it was
people
like...
misunderstand
But it was
you.
in a more positive way.
Oh, good.
And she was like, which I've been told before, but yes, like that, it makes sense that no one understands me. But then she was like, you can use that to help like counsel people basically. And I was like, well, I kind of already do that.
Yeah.
But yes. Cool. Yeah. So, and she told me something similar to what she told you about like, we're going to be exposed to big things, but it wasn't regarding sex trafficking. She just kind of said like, there was going to almost like we're going to reach rock bottom, which I think we kind of already knew.
As a society?
Yeah. Like on a large scale, but then there's going to be a rebuild. And she was like, you could be really pivotal in that rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, that's kind of similar to what she said to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think society's headed towards a little bit of a rock bottom, but you gotta head towards that rock bottom and hit it, and then accept it so you can pivot.
But again, like when you actually break those things out in your head, you're like, that's kind of generic, and you can kind of always say that, and that can always be true.
Sure,
but
and that's true as well.
I don't know. Like I'm always like, I'll like talk to psychics, but then I'll talk to like magicians, and I'll be like, now how would this, because magicians know how to manipulate and play. So I always like talk to magicians and like mentalists.
Dude, mentalists?
So often. And I'm like, well, how do you go about that? And like, magicians really won't give away their secrets, which is so annoying of you guys.
I know. I almost want to train to be a mentalist so I can learn the secrets, because that is the craziest shit I've ever seen, but it must be. But a lot of people are dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Frankly, they are. They're basic, they're predictable, and they're kind of dumb.
Well, and then also if you're at something like that, you most likely want to believe, need some healing, are going through some grief.
So that's vulnerable to that.
That's the only part of the whole woo that really bothers me, is I think a lot of it is taking advantage of people's grief and monetizing it.
Disgusting.
And that part really bothers me.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's kind of like, it's just entertainment. Like, whatever, take it, with a grain of salt. That being said, though, I do feel like recently, like I've just had readings that were like, just so not how things turned out, that I'm like, I probably gotta just not
dabble in that as often.
Even look at it at all.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even looking at it that much, but I'm like, not even at all.
Yeah. Because that can get addicting.
Yeah.
But yeah, great party. It
was a great party. Congratulations.
I think I freaked him out over how good of a liar I was.
Good. Keep him on his toes.
Yeah. It's 2025. Krystyna, keep me on your toes. Okay, guys, let's get to our guest. She's fantastic. I love this conversation. She's a stand-up comedian. You've probably seen her on Comedy Central a bunch. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Tina Frimmel.